How it goes, the family? Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. Hopefully, you guys are having a great, exceptional day. My apologies. Welcome back to Patterson Oak Properties. I've just got finished working on my other podcast, so my apologies. Welcome back to Patterson Oak Properties. Hopefully, you guys are having a great and exceptional day. Today's topic is real estate crashing? Is the real estate crash coming? Well, since the dawn of the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, people have went online, especially on Twitter, in hopes of a real estate market crash, especially when the world shut down at least for a year. So many people thought that the real estate market would crash since the contrary happened and real estate prices have increased, along with interest rates tremendously. The 2007, 2008 market crashes in a lot of people's hopes and dreams to happen again in 2023 or in at least the next 2 years. According to the article that I read on Yahoo today, after a record-breaking run that saw mortgage rates plunge to all-time lows and home prices soar to new highs, the U.S. housing market is finally slowing. Home sales have declined for 11 consecutive months as of December 2022, and home values seem to have peaked. While demand and price gains are cooling, any correction is likely to be a modest one. Housing economists and analysts say no one expects price drops on the scale of the declines experienced during the Great Recession. Rob Dietz, chief economist at the National Association of Home Builders, sums up the census among housing experts. We are thinking this is going to be a moderate downturn, he says, meaning that the next economic downturn isn't going to be anything like 2007, 2008, because one thing that the federal government alongside with the state governments did during that time frame is that they've done a great job to ensure, that that they have reasonable, not outrageous, but reasonable housing regulations to protect consumers, banks, et cetera, and so, especially the local governments, because local governments do not win that much when they have to deal with homes, not because they're not collecting that tax money when people are not occupying those homes. Those homes are in foreclosures. Banks hate foreclosures. It's just a thing, when there's a lien tax sale, people like me benefit from it, but they don't like it. So they wanted to have at least some sort of regulations to ensure that people don't have to go through this, so that their pockets don't get aren't hurting, basically. It doesn't affect their bottom lines, the corporate and the government bottom lines, all right? Because everything, capitalist country, everything's about money, regardless who sits in the White House, governor's house, and the mayor's house. So it is what it is. Now, bear in mind that the average cost of a home in 2023 has reached $400,000. The article also stated that most markets are going to experience price declines in the high single digits. Home prices declines of 8 to 9% would create some economic pain, to be sure, but this correction will be nothing like the utter collapse of the property prices during the Great Recession, when some housing markets experience a 50% cratering of values. And most major cities, their housing market needs to have some sort of correction, nothing like 2007 or 8, but some sort of correction, because it's just not, feasible for most working people to be able to live in most major cities in America anymore. I remember when so many people were leaving New York City during the pandemic, especially 2021, that made the housing prices and rental prices go down. Heck, my uncle was able to finally be able to get a decent apartment in New York City when the demand went down. So he was able to lock in at a decent rent rate and in a better neighborhood. So supply and demand is a real thing. So to end this video off, the article went over 5 reasons why the U.S. housing market isn't going to crash. Number one, inventories are still low. The National Association of Realtors says that there was a 2.9-month supply of homes for sale in December. In February, the figure was as low as a tiny 2.0-month supply. This ongoing lack of inventory explains why many buyers still have little choice but to bid up prices. And it also indicates that the supply and demand equation simply won't allow a price crash in the near future. So that's what it is. It's like there's not enough supply of homes in the United States for there to be a crash like it was in 2007 and 8. Number two, builders don't build quickly enough to meet demand. Home builders pulled way back after the last crash, and they never fully ramped up since. So we've been suffering in the housing market because of the 2007, 2008 crash. Now there's no way for them to build land and buy land and win regulatory approvals quickly enough to quench demand. While they are building as much as they can, a repeat of the overbuilding of 15 years ago looks unlikely. The fundamental reason, I remember during that time from 2000 to 2007, they were all over the nation, especially in the DMV area. They were building houses like crazy. Fundamental reason for the run-up of prices is heightened demand and lack of supply. says Greg McBride, CFA Bank Rates Chief Financial Analyst. As builders bring more available homes to market, more homeowners decide to sell and sell and prospective buyers get priced out of the market. Supply and demand can come back into balance. It won't happen overnight. It's going to take some years. Number three, demographic trends are creating new buyers. There's a strong demand for homes on many fronts. Many Americans who already own homes decided during the pandemic that they needed bigger places, especially with the rise of the working from home. Millennials are a huge group, and in their prime buying years, and Hispanics are a young, growing demographic keen on home ownership. Number four, lending standards remain strict. In 2007, liar loans in which borrowers didn't need to document their income were common. Lenders offered mortgages to just about anyone, whether you had a job or not, regardless of credit history or down payment size. Today's lenders impose tough standards on borrowers, and those who are getting a mortgage overwhelmingly have excellent credit. Typical credit score for mortgage borrowers in the third quarter of 2022 was a high of 768. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York says if lending standards loosen and we go back to the wild, wild west, the days of 2004, 2006, then that is a whole different animal, says McBride. If we start to see prices bid up by the artificial buying power of loose lending standards, that's when we worry about a crash. And I don't want us to go back to those days because that didn't work. That worked out for a handful of people, but most people lost. Last but not least, number five, foreclosure activity is muted in the years after the housing crash. Millions of foreclosures flooded the housing market. Yes, they did, depressing prices. That's not the case now. Most homeowners have a comfortable equity cushion in their homes. Lenders weren't filling default notices during the height of the pandemic, pushing foreclosures to record lows. And then you got to remember, during the pandemic, you could not foreclose on a property. People that could pay the mortgage didn't have to pay the mortgage. You couldn't evict tenants. So, if this would ever happen, in my personal opinion, it'd be around 2025 and 2026. But on that note, do great things. Like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day. As I always say, make money moves, or you're going to live broke like a fool. Take care.